They are the husband and wife dancing duo, Michael and Mina Witte. Welcome to the DWOS Diaries, guys.
Hi, we're super excited.
Great to have you. So it's going to be a lot of Michael, first off, just because he was around for those first few years. So Michael, take me back to when the event started. The first year was 2009. Obviously, planning began in 2008. Two-part question. First, where were you at this point in life? And then what did you think when you heard about the idea of a ballroom dance fundraiser?
I was interning with Janet Golnick at her dance studio, Dance Board of Green Bay. And I think I was either student teaching or in the year after student teaching, right after graduation, just kind of around Green Bay. And I had known Janet for 4 or 5 years at that point. And she was my first dance teacher, wonderful, fantastic woman. But she sometimes had these really crazy ideas. And they were kind of, now that I'm in the dance industry, they were fairly typical dance industry ideas where they're like, yeah, we could do this and this. And I mean, I was a swimmer who joined dancing to get into shape at that point in my life. And it was a better thing to do because it was social and there was a lot more girls than running. And so some of the ideas she came up with, I'm like, no way. And I remember her telling me about it when she started. I think Maury approached her probably in the summer or even the spring the year before, and they started bouncing ideas or however it ended up starting. And then she kind of kept going with it, and all of a sudden it was, Michael, this is going to be a thing. I need you to dance with some people. Who else do you think can dance and be one of our student intern pros to dance with the stars? She was very worried about us being able to keep our amateur competitive status and stuff. So she always was very specific about that. But it kind of away it went there. A young lady I was competing with as amateurs, and I danced, and many other people.
What do you remember from that, I guess that first year rehearsal-wise? I know that you were with Cami Rapson, I think Tracy Reinhardt at that time, now Tracy Alpert, right? Were you with anybody else? And who were you with? And, kind of walk me through rehearsing with them and then the event at the Riverside.
Well, that first year, we didn't really all know what we were getting ourselves into. I sure didn't. I was kind of a dumb kid. But I clicked with Cami and Tracy both, but with Cami right away especially. She was just really funny, and our sense of humor kind of worked together. Yeah, that was all her idea, 100%. She didn't say it in her video. Her skirt had a zipper in front, and she was incredibly proud of that fact. And these outfits, I think she really liked it. That wig is something, that shirt is something.
That's a great outfit.
Glad this picture stayed around. But so we, and Tracy was absolutely wonderful too. Both of them came into it not really being dancers. Tracy spent most of the time talking about how wonderful her daughter would be at it. But she did, they both of them did a great job. The hard part that year is I don't think we started till after Thanksgiving. Like, I think we started in December and the event was in February, and we had all of the holidays kind of mix-mashed in between. It might have even been like that I met them in December and we started dancing in January. I don't even really remember. But it was kind of it was quite a hoot. Janet gave us all the choreography. So for those lessons, the three of us were in them. And then once we had a choreography, we had time scheduled to kind of practice and run through it all and come up with our finished product. Looking back on it, we refined our practices a little bit. but it's just, it's hard to look back at it and say that too, because every year was so distinct. Every year was full of such amazing, wonderful people. I will never forget the people that I had the opportunity to meet doing this, that I wouldn't have met with and interacted with otherwise. And it's just very cool. And you doing this series has been really cool for me, as it jogs back a lot of my memories that I don't always remember, that are trapped somewhere back in my head.
Well, speaking of memories, what do you recall from the first event being at the Riverside Ballroom? What was it like to perform in that venue?
So I have a couple of like really poignant things that I just remember. The first thing is, we had a competition that morning, and I had danced 120 some times with different students of Janet and friends that whole evening. So I started dancing at 8 a.m. and then we had this program in the evening. And so it was a long day. They had a side spotlight. I can't believe no one mentioned this before. It was right to the side of where we were performing, and it shines straight at us. So that first year, you couldn't see the audience. All you could see was this blinding light of like heaven or something. Like, so anytime I looked away from my partner, all I saw was this spotlight, and then I couldn't see anything else for a few seconds afterwards. So that was different to get used to. And like Cammie said, at one point, a couple of times, like, I don't know, the wait staff must have really been out of their element, because a couple of times we're dancing and the roasted chicken trays are just walking out on the floor. I distinctly remember dancing samba with Tracy, and here we are, we're doing this Latin dance. She's in this Latin costume, and all of a sudden the roasted chicken is just going on out through the floor. Look at baby me.
Look at that hair.
Gosh. But so like that was crazy. Probably my most vivid memory of the whole night had to actually be of George Graffis. And I had so much fun getting to talk to him and kind of share his dance experience. But they had the man's dressing room at the Riverside. Okay, any ballroom competition, the joke is always the man's dressing room. We're in a closed bathroom where the toilets don't work. We're in a closet. We're in a hallway with windows, whatever. Well, at the Riverside, they had us back in this really far back broom closet. It's like to the right of the stage, just in the back, right? And they stuck this like lattice fence work in front of it, and it was like crisscrossed, right? But you could see through it. Like, and that was our dressing room. So at the end of the night, we all had finished our dances. George is just sitting back there in a chair in his tuxedo, and the door was actually open to the outside, so there was cold air coming in, and he was just sitting there, like smiling, like he had just, finished the best race of his life or something. And in a damn broom closet behind lattice work, in a tuxedo. And like that image has just never left me through anything else.
Wild times. And it sounds like it's a good thing that the event only lasted 1 year at the Riverside, and then you guys were off to the Radisson. So what do you remember about, you took part in 2010 and 2011 at the Radisson. So what differences, what do you remember from performing at that venue?
The room was a lot bigger, a lot bigger. I had a lot of fun performing with Sarah that second year. We did a samba again. So that was fun. That's what you see in this picture. Excuse me. And it was just bigger that next year. I can't remember if that was the year. One of the years, the dressing room at the Oneida, the dressing room was on the stage, and they had the guys and the girls right next to each other with just like fabric in between. So there wasn't much of a dressing room there either. But that was really fun. And then this was the next year. That was the third year. I got to dance with Amy and Jackie that year. That year was a blast. That was kind of like the second year in the space. They kind of knew what they wanted to do and where they were going. That year was really fun. I think that was the year Murphy danced in it too. And I got to hang out with Murphy, which was just like I said, part of that crazy cool experience. The year before was when Man of La Mancha, Chris Roth, when he did his, and that was such a fun piece. He was like that leather breastplate he had on, and it was like the whole thing. It was really fun.
That was a good one. So 2000.
Jackie, I danced with.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, when I danced with Jackie, I was wearing my tail suit, and that was Amy in the picture, but the same suit. And Jackie's dresses were made for her by a friend of Janet's, and it had like this fishnet over the bodice, right? And looked really cool. But I remember with Jackie, we were dancing, and I had a button, and it got stuck on her. So I'm like dancing, trying to yank my suit button off of her dance. During her dance, yeah. So it's just crazy fun things. I remember Jackie, part of the cool part about this event is it was so much more than just dancing. And I remember Jackie, she did her dance for her mother. So that was a really cool piece for me to be a part of.
You got one of the little ones wants to join the party here.
My son's got his crunchers. Yep, Riker, you want to say hi? Say hi.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good job. How are you?
This is Riker, yep.
Hi, Riker. Cutie. So you would return in 2000. You would return in 2013 after starting your own business. And what was it like to come back to the event and also have that added pressure of now being a business owner?
It was really nice to be back in the event. I had a lot of friends that did it the year where I didn't get to dance, and I was actually able to attend and watch and really enjoyed the event that year from a very different perspective, not having any pressure or build up or anything like that. But it was so nice to be back. I got to dance with Mary that year, her first time, when she was pretty much just said that she was the oldest person in the competition. And I said, well, then let's have some fun. And she did this kind of classy, beautiful waltz, which is what you see there. And then for the second number, I said, well, what do you think about being a little silly? And so we actually did a jive, and she danced to Girls Gone Wild. And so she played this like cougar type person. And she actually won, I think, a People's Choice or some award for that dance. Bless her, because I spent most of that dance following her as she went off her own way. But she just, I mean, if you know Mary, she's so cute and so like dynamic. She sold everything she did. It was all done 100%. And to this day, one of the most entertaining numbers for me to watch is her doing this jive with the fringe on her pants. So that was really fun. And then I got to work a little bit with some of the dancers that Jay worked with that year. So that was a really fun year. It just felt really good. For me, it felt really good to be back around Jody, to be back around all of the people, Barb, all the people that had been there and kind of continued with it. Cammie, Bill, because they were, I don't know how many times Bill emceed or if it was just Cammie, but then Tammy was emceeing. Just being around the group of people again was really nice. And
Donald Driver and his wife took part that year. So any fun stories with hanging out with Donald Driver backstage?
It was kind of surreal for me. I couldn't figure out, it took me half of the day to figure out why there were these security guards hanging out in the dressing room. then I'm like, oh, they're here to make sure that people don't just bust in and bug Donald. But no, he was really cool. We spent a lot of time that year just hanging out in the dressing room, talking to him. I actually did some push-ups next to him while he was doing push-ups because we both had a number with our shirts unbuttoned, and we both wanted to present. I was not married then, so I was in better shape. And we both wanted to have our best foot forward. So like a half an hour, he's like, you got to do it a half an hour before so that it looks good when you're performing. So I remember that. But he was just really down to earth, really friendly. It was really cool to talk to him. He took a picture with myself and Jay, and that was really fun. I have this awesome picture of him and his wife dancing that is the background on my computer at the dance studio for the entire time that Simply Ballroom was open. So just really, again, where else are you going to meet and sit in a room with Donald Driver? Or, Sean Kaiser, or I have to tell you one last thing about that year. My favorite memory, okay? The dance studio we were on Velp, and we had this like raised platform with couches. And I don't know if they planned it or what, but one day after their lesson, Sean and Todd just sat down, opened up a 6-pack, and had a beer, and just laughed for like an hour. And it was so much fun to be around that group of people as they did their thing. So anyways, that was just so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, there was a lot of camaraderie from the people that were under the instruction of you and your team. And that certainly continued throughout all the years. And that brings us to 2014. So now your better half is finally in the picture. Mina is helping out in the studio with choreography and lessons, and also backstage. So Mina, you did not grow up in Northeast Wisconsin. So when do you first ever remember hearing about Dancing with Our Stars?
Several weeks into dating this one.
Which would have been the October before it.
Yeah. Just heard there was this charity fundraiser. I had worked for Fred Astaire Dance Studios down in Milwaukee before I met him and moved up to Green Bay. And we were a part of several events that were similar, not on the same scale. They were still smaller events, but this similar idea. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm part of this fundraiser for the Red Cross, and I'd really like if you went with me, and all that kind of stuff. And we've got lots of students in the studio right now that are working on that event. And so it was fun getting to work on show routines with people that had never danced before. So there was a lot of hilarious moments and a lot of frustration on teacher and dancer. And so it was a lot of fun getting to be a part of it that first year I was in Green Bay.
That was when I got to dance with Jody and Tracy.
Yep.
So, Jody.
Oh,
yeah.
Jody.
What memories do you have from dancing with those gals?
I just remember Jody had a plan. She knew from the beginning that my shirt was going to be off. That was like, she figured that she had two plans. She was going to do the splits, and my shirt was going to be off, and that was going to win her something. And her first dance was easy. That was the tango that you're seeing with my shirt off. But I remember it took us forever to decide on a song for her second dance. But my story has to do with the tango. We had this lift where she was on kind of a drag on my back. And I remember doing this lift, and it wasn't as easy as it should have been. And so after us practicing it like 4 or 5 or 15 times, I'm like, Jody, are you lifting like yourself? And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, no, you have to like lift yourself. So the next time we did it, she almost flew over my head, Sean. Like, so like we both came down from it. We stopped. We didn't even finish the run, and like almost died. I don't remember like if you were there or not, but we were like, but, and Tracy was an absolute blast. She was so far out of her comfort zone. But I had so much fun dancing with her and her Viennese. Yep. She did a Viennese, and then she did a paso where she was in
leather cape.
Yep,
All black,
leather jacket cape.
The Matrix jacket.
Yep, little out of parts for what you'd expect your banker to look like, but that was fun. It was really cool. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it too. Some of the really fun parts were just the people that I got to work with, having Jay, Jamie, Alyssa, Taylor, Therese, and having Mina, and having all the other pros that were there that I got to work with and share this experience with. I mean, that was really wonderful too.
2014 event was also memorable because you popped the question. So how did the idea for the proposal come about and wanting to do it at the event? Walk us through all that.
Well, Mina, she was in Milwaukee when I met her, so there was some commuting and stuff going on. So I was certain that this was the one I was going to marry, probably November, December. It didn't take all that long after meeting her. And so then it got to be the point of, well, how am I going to ask her? And I don't remember. I think I was talking to Tracy about it, actually, and she came up with some ideas, and somehow I ended up talking to Jim Rivet about it. And Jim's like, well, I can make those signs. So Jim actually made the signs that you see that say, Mina, will you marry me? And we worked it out to have those signs at the event. I asked you and made sure it was okay, kind of double checked it all. And so on top of all of my other nerves for this event, I had, and that year, who did I have that year?
That was Tracy and Jody.
Was that Tracy and Jody year? Okay.
Yeah.
On top of that, I had trying to get all of this figured out. And I think I had Tracy and Jody, Mina, Will, Jackie was larding, and then Mary
Jim.
was Jim, and I was holding me. And so I had all people that were very important to me and that I either had danced with or worked with doing it. I actually got her dad on board. Her dad was the person that was kind of holding her in her seat while I was getting changed, because I had danced and then I had to go change, and they were doing this. I think we were doing this after the last dance prior to the announcing of the winning. And you might remember better than me, Sean. I don't remember exactly when. But her dad was like keeping her in her seat so she didn't walk back into this, and then was going to kind of escort her back here. And like my grandma and grandpa were there, her mom, her dad, her sister, my mom, my dad. So it was kind of cool that not every family gets to be in that. And I'm thinking I'm doing a really good thing. Everyone kind of knows but Mina. They kept the secret pretty well, which is awesome. And Mina's dad actually had to like drag her back to the table twice because she was on a mission and she didn't want to be sitting at that table.
My mission was I had to go to the bathroom. I just needed to go to the bathroom, and started to get angry that I kept getting stopped at this point. So
it's a real fairy.
Yeah.
Our relationship's like a fairy tale. You know, she just needed to go to the bathroom. I actually had to call her sister and tell her sister that was her mom and dad's deal with the whole thing. So as I'm changing after the dance, I'm on the phone in the back room, men's changing area, talking to her sister. But so then her dad walked her out and we had the sign, and she laughed at me, and then said yes, thankfully. So, but I remember saying, hey, you should have a really pretty dress for this event. And I think she thought I was just doing it for the event, but I was just doing it for her engagement.
Mina, did you have any suspicions at all? And I know Michael said you laughed when you got back there, but you know, what was going through your head when you see everybody lined up with the signs?
the first thing I think that popped into my head was, oh my God, he's doing it. Okay, this is happening.
Because this was like the day after Valentine's Day, right?
And I told him specifically, if we're going to do this, you better never ask me on Valentine's Day because everybody does Valentine's Day. So yeah, I got backstage, and at this point I was still so frustrated that I couldn't go to the bathroom. Still have yet to gone at that point. Turn the corner, and I see everyone with the signs, and yeah, I think the first thing that popped in my head was, oh my God, he's doing this now.
I was completely in the clear. She figured because it didn't happen on Valentine's Day, even though she had told me not to, that it would be a while. So it was perfect timing.
What an awesome moment. And your wedding would also kind of have a Dancing with Our Stars connection. So tell us about that.
So Jim Rivet, we got really close to that year, and we had talked to him about possibly having our ceremony at Archetype. I'm gonna get emotional. Yeah, it was really beautiful, and Jim was very supportive. We actually originally talked to him about just having the ceremony, not the ceremony, just the reception there. Just having a big party. We were very inspired and loved how he did the very first kind of mirror ball bash there. And so we were just supposed to have the reception there, and then our church, 2 months, month and a half before our wedding, told us we couldn't have the wedding there, and we kind of ran to Jim, and Jim saved the day, and we had our wedding at Archetype.
Kind of a story about the guy, huh? Jim saved the day.
That's Jim, one of the all-time greats. So 2015.
Yeah,
go ahead.
He was. No, I was just saying he was just so good to us, and I'll never be thankful enough for it.
So 2015, Mina is now a pro in Dancing with Our Stars, and one of my favorite all-time performances, get back to my photos here, would be the number that you did with Keith Cronin. So tell me how this dance came about.
Yes.
Okay, so Keith and I really bonded about just being able to go out there and have fun and have a party, and we wanted to do something very different from my understanding than what had been put out there before. So Keith has a background in Zumba, as most of everyone knows in this community, and we decided to collaborate with each other and do this merengue Zumba inspired performance piece. And we're both Irish, so we pulled out the Irish sleeve tattoos and pulled up our hoods, and we painted the Packer G symbol on his head. And
I think you rhinestoned it too.
I rhinestoned it, and we did a little twerking, and yeah, it was a blast.
High energy. It was one of the highest energy numbers that I can remember, and a lot of fun. And you guys won People's Choice for that performance.
Yeah, we did.
And another award winner from that event would be Lisa Pritzl, and she won People's Choice and Judge's Choice. Really knocked it out of the park. What was it like dancing with her, Michael?
Lisa was really my first experience in Dancing with Our Stars, where I was given a dancer to dance with. So I had to show her some ballroom stuff here and there. But Lisa, if most of you have met her or seen her, she's just a dancer. That's what she was made to do. On top of her and Mike being two of the nicest people I've met in my life. So that whole experience was just wonderful. That Viennese waltz was done in tribute to her son who well, after this was in February, but he was already committed to the Marines and enlisted after he graduated that year. So this was actually Letters from War, which is a very powerful mother and son song. And so that was that one. And I remember just everything kind of came together for that one. She danced the samba too. The samba was fun, but everything came together for her Viennese Waltz.
The following year, you would be blessed with another person with dance experience, that being Jen Berres-Dart. What was it like to team up with her?
Jen's tango, it wasn't, you know, I've said this a couple of times. Jen's tango wasn't like the most award-winning, or it didn't catch a lot of other people's eye. But I think that's one of my favorites. It's definitely in my top 3 for the 9 years that I got to dance this event. I loved dancing that tango with her. It was just a lot of fun. This number is her jive, which I got the chance to play kind of a nerdy guy who lucked out and won the lottery. And that was just, it was just so much fun. Jen's level of commitment to everything was just incredible to be a part of and to dance with. And another person who every time she came in to the studio to dance was just a joy to be around, a joy to have the experience to work with. I feel like we both were able to make each other's lives better while we danced, and that was truly wonderful.
In 2016, Mina had a routine where she was in the air a lot, and that was dancing with Zeb. Walk us through this performance.
Everyone's heard we, for some reason, decided this routine couldn't be complete without, you know, my feet barely touching the floor. So we decided that he was going to carry me out. And I think this was the first year the event was upstairs in the new ballroom that the KI had. So it was a much longer walk from the backstaging area to the floor, and we decided that he was going to carry me out to the floor on his shoulder like this. But this was a really kind of powerful dance for Zeb. I remember he was like, this year I want to be a guy, I want to be Zeb, I want to show that I'm strong, I want to show that I'm powerful. So we hit it hard with this routine. This was one of my favorites.
I think it was seriously like 100 yards, like a whole football field that he had to walk out with her on his shoulder. It was, and then he had to dance. Like, props, man.
2017, you had, Michael, another emotional performance, this being with Billi Jo Baneck dedicating the dance to her family and her sister, who she lost some family members in a fire, but her sister, who you can see right there, Katie, in the picture, she survived, and it was dedicated to her. What do you remember about this?
Billi Jo is just, she is a beautiful person. And it was such a joy to walk with her, because she would never call herself a dancer. But she danced, and she had a message to share, and she shared that message. And what can you say, but you're just honored to be a part of it. I remember I was in tears crying, she was crying. Yeah, it was crazy special, just to be able to be a part of that process.
And there she is sharing that hug with Katie. I remember Katie was filming the dance on her phone and posted it to social media, and I read the intro for this dance, which was the dedication, and when Katie heard that, she said something we really shouldn't repeat on this broadcast. She let out an expletive, but in a good way. And her filming it all the way up until this hug is, I'm tears in my eyes as I recall that moment.
Yeah, well, I think she started crying right after your intro, which set Billi Jo off. And I think I managed to make it about 35 to 40 seconds into the song before I was crying.
Well, on a much,
like, you know,
go ahead.
there's just so much to this program, and it did so much good for the Red Cross, but it did so much for people too. So just honored to be able to walk through that with them.
On a much lighter note, in 2017, Mina had the chance to dance with a couple of characters, and this being one of them, the broom guy, Jim Knopf. What memories do you have of getting to hang out with this cool cat?
It was always a good time. It was always a good time to have this man in the studio. I don't think we ever had a lesson where we weren't laughing with each other. It was such a joy to get to dance with him and to hang out with him.
You never knew what story
No.
or what he was going to bring into the studio, what cleaning instrument, what.
Yeah, so tell me about the broom. What did you all have to do to that broom?
I wasn't a part of the broom, to be honest. Jim is known for doing a dance with his broom. I believe he has done some working at the Mark, and at different weddings and events and things like that, he would come out and kind of give people a dance floor break and would entertain people by, you know, dancing around with his broom. And he's kind of known for it locally. So he's like, what, I gotta have my broom somehow. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're not holding it the entire time. You have to dance with me. So we did kind of this Elvis Presley themed thing at the beginning where we had him singing with his broomstick and then made him chuck it to the side to dance with the pretty girl for a while.
The other character that year was Josh, or Woody, from Jack FM. And he started this routine on a hover round, and then you can see on the picture he's got like a GoPro tied to his head. So you know, what was it like to dance with him, and you know, just all the different things that he put into this number? How did that all come about?
You know, we decided we were just gonna go out there and have some fun, and he's always GoProing on his phone, videoing something, talking to somebody about something. He is just one big personality. And I said to him, you know, I have to chase you around the floor on your hoverboard. And I actually think that was your hoverboard that we pulled out for it. And he had the GoPro on and a cell phone. And he GoPro'd that entire routine. We have that whole routine from his perspective of me chasing him around and flying on his back. And
that one was so theatrical and funny. Like, just, I think it was right up his character, like his Woody persona.
That was a lot of fun. So 2018 is the finale, the All-Star event, and you guys received some good news for that. And we saw him now that he's a little bit grown up. He was in our video before. So you find out that you're pregnant. I remember Michael calling me. I was at a golf outing. It was in May, and Michael called me to let me know that you were expecting, which is obviously awesome, but could potentially pose some challenges. And you know, what, if any, challenges did it pose for rehearsals, and how far up until giving birth were you still dancing in the studio with your students?
Well, the only thing we were concerned about was the original due date we were given for Riker was around Christmas. So we were like, whoa, that's getting close to the event. Hopefully I'm not out for too long afterwards. But gradually that expected date kept getting moved up, and I actually was in the studio doing choreography with a coach that we brought in from Milwaukee, with my students, dancing around full out, and went upstairs to my office, sat down for maybe 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, we've got to go to the hospital now.
I was dancing with another student downstairs at this point. I think that might have been Stacy. Like that might have been.
Dancing with Stacy
I think I was dancing with Stacy. It was one of her lessons.
So I was still dancing in the studio up until the day of having Riker, and I think I was back in the studio maybe 2 weeks later, or a week later.
Wow.
I think it was really quick. It was right away she got back with their Dancing with the Stars people, to make sure they didn't feel like they were missing and like they could kind of keep progressing. That was busy.
Yeah.
I just remember her going, "We need to leave," and I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" like Ilya's downstairs, and she's like, "We need to leave." Oh, okay. Good. Are you okay? Like,
so we left the coach in the studio to finish off the lessons, and we said, "Here's how you lock up, and we'll see you soon."
Well, we're glad it all worked out well, and you were back for the finale. And another one of those emotional performances was Dan Terrio, and told an amazing story, and talk about the challenge of doing contemporary. Nobody had done contemporary in the 10-year history of the event until now. So your guys' decision to do that, and just being able to share Dan's story.
Yeah, so contemporary is hard enough as it is to be able to master, and to then teach it to somebody who has some dance experience under their belt, but nothing quite as serious as training contemporary for years and years. It's hard enough. Ballroom is hard enough to teach somebody that has no dance experience prior. Contemporary is very difficult considering that we're not partnered. So we still have ballroom elements, dancing it with each other, but this was really a physical interpretation of Dan's story. The train accident, and him being told that he would have to relearn how to walk and probably never run again, never dance, and now look at him.
And I remember he was always concerned, will I be strong enough? Will I do this? And he just constantly came in and gave it his go, and really did a great job through it all. It's very, just for me, I didn't get to dance with him, but seeing the inspiration, seeing him push through it every week, day in and day out for practice. And
next up is our man Keith again. And I loved that he started his routine up on the judges stage. So what was the idea behind starting off this way?
This whole dance started with a shirt and iron-on, didn't it?
Okay, so first and foremost, we knew we had to do Britney Spears in some way, shape, or form. But then we just kept adding and adding. And then all of a sudden we threw in this like Pitbull introduction thing, and we got the powder blue suit and the shades, and we're like, you know what? No one's ever started up on the platform with the judges. No one's ever dared to go up by the judges. Let's start you up there. So he came down off the stage, and we actually put Max's face on the back of his button-down shirt. We ironed on a decal of Max's face. There we go.
He was so proud of that.
Oh, you loved it that day. But I mean, we went crazy. We learned the Hit Me Baby One More Time dance. from the music video, and we had champagne bottles popping on the floor, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Michael, you got the chance to dance with Mary again, and I believe she was 70 years old at this point. What was that like to get to rejoin, get to perform with her again several years after the first time?
So our whole thought was, what would we do if we could do your dance again? And to my knowledge, she's the only person that did her same exact song twice. And so we just redid the song, taking things that she had liked, taking things that I had learned, and kind of went to work on it. And the initial piece was to take it a little easy on her because, like you said, she was not the youngest gal in the competition. She was retired at this time, I think, babysitting her grandbabies. And we ended up spinning her around and picking her up, and she just did wonderful. And I remember that her dress just like finished the whole thing for her. She was stunning in that dress. She felt so pretty. And again, it's just so cool for me. I get a little different experience. A lot of Mina's men, some men don't come into this having a plan. A lot of yours did. Zeb, Keith, Dan, they all had a plan. A lot of my girls, they want to do this, but it's so far out of their comfort zone. So I get to just kind of walk with them and see them grow and see them get comfortable with this venue. And that's wonderful. And the fact that Mary had a good enough experience the first time to be willing to step out on the floor and try it again, and that she was willing to do it with me. I just can't say enough how grateful I am for the people that I got to meet, every single one of them through the years, and walk down this journey with them.
How about this one? So your opportunity to dance with Mimi Jackson.
I remember that he came to me saying that you had okayed this because he had done it as Zeb, and now he wanted to do it as Mimi. And this was probably the biggest production I had been a part of, because we started out dancing together, and then he had backup dancers that came out and finished the number with him. And he was telling me his vision for this, and he's like, yeah, here you're gonna lift me, and then you're gonna flip me, and we're gonna do this part where you lift me. And I'm just sitting here going, okay, we're gonna do this. And he was so much fun. Like in this lift, like he is doing such a good job of well, pronouns are really weird when there's a drag queen involved. Mimi is doing such a great job at lifting herself that this lift looks light and looks manageable.
I have to say, everyone's like, it's gonna be weird, a guy lifting a guy. No, it's actually a lot better when a guy is lifting a guy, because they're so much stronger with their upper body. That Zeb is probably one of the easiest people to ever lift.
Well, and it was so funny because people like go up to you and they're like, well, what is it like? And I'm like, it was dancing. We have choreographers come in all the time, and they dance the girl part, and I dance with them, or I dance the girl part. So it was just dancing. I was so, again, humbled and honored to be able to help him take his vision and make it this reality. And I never got to dance with him in drag. Like the night was the first time he was in drag. So he was just,
for this routine,
he was just walking in jeans and a t-shirt, beard, normal guy hair, and high-heeled boots. And we would just go to town practicing this. And so like getting him with the whole, him being Mimi, dancing it with Mimi was interesting. And I think I danced it once half drag with him as Mimi, and then it was all out. It was that whole group number, because I think we had like 15 people on the floor at some point for it.
Yeah. Students from the studio, yeah.
That was a fun one. Mina, you had, so the All-Star group had 20 participants, 18 of them were returnees, and 2 were newbies, taking the place of former participants. Paul Kardish, one of those 2 newbies. How did Paul do for being a first-timer?
It was fun.
He was so much fun. He came into this and he's like, you know what? I trust you. You're the pro. Just tell me what to do. We'll get it done, and whatever happens, happens. You know, I found out his past experience and different jobs he's had, and he was so set up to handle this pressure and to handle just being calm and thinking things through the whole. He was great to work with. Me coming out of having a kid, he was cool and collected. He's like, nah, we got this. We're fine. He was one of the easiest people I would say I've ever had to work with. Yeah. In my entire career outside of Dancing with Our Stars, one of the easiest guys to work with.
And so like kind and again encouraging, like for someone who's very prevalent in the community.
I remember him being very supportive backstage. I mean, everybody was, but Paul, for being a first-timer, having never been at the event, just always, you know, really interacted with everybody and lifting everybody up, and certainly appreciated him. So this gal, Michael,
he fit in just like he had been there before.
Michael, you danced with this gal in 2016 and then again in 2018, and this is arguably one of the most strenuous routines, I think, in the history of Dancing with Our Stars. Of course, we're talking about Anna Allen. Tell us about this routine and, you know, just about her dancing talent.
Well, first of all, I have to say, Anna came in and said, I want to do this routine, this style, this many lifts. And I said, okay, let's go have some fun. We went out, did the choreography, and I walked away and I said, have fun.
So the first year Anna did it, she had this kind of sassy foxtrot that she got to really act with. And then we had kind of a slower, it was a bolero that also had some lifts. So I think she also wanted to speed things up. She was convinced that she needed to do something fast. And so she came in with this idea. And I remember Mina did the choreography, and we were adding some lifts that we wanted to do. She had a bunch that she wanted to try, and then we would spend time at practice trying them out, going through them and seeing which ones we liked. And we just kept adding lifts. We're like, we like this one. We like this, like we were shopping, right? Right. And then we put them into the choreography, and we slowly worked through all the things, and you know, we're going through it. The first time came to run it with music. And like, we get done, I think there was 4 or 5 lifts back to back to back at the end, and we get done with 2 of them, and both of us are like, like just trying to get through it. This routine, it was so much fun, but like we would run through all the beginning stuff where there was less lifts 4 or 5 times with music. We would run through the parts with the lifts once, maybe twice in any 40 minutes, because anything more than that, and we started to get gassed to work through it. It was so much fun. You know, you never quite know someone until you do a bunch of lifts with them. But she, again, Anna was fun. She's a school teacher like I am. So we had a lot of commonalities that we could talk through and work through, and just a ball to dance with.
You guys won the judges' choice for this one with a perfect score. So I am privy to seeing the judges' score sheets, and it was 10-10, 10-10, and actually 2 12s. I don't know which judge, but a judge actually went beyond. You know, we judged 1 through 10, and somebody gave you 2 12s for that performance.
Good job.
Awesome job. One more dance to talk about, because Mina was the choreographer, I believe, for the group part of this, and that would be Jody Wire's Last Dance. So what do you guys remember about first hearing about this whole concept, and then, you know, you guys getting involved with it and then trying to put it all together when you've got people scattered all throughout the state?
Yeah, so Jody had contacted us and said, I've got this crazy idea and Sean doesn't know about it. I want to surprise him and I want everyone out on the floor for the last part of my dance. This was when Jody had moved to Madison, so she was working with a new pro for the event. So none of us had had any prior experience working with him. He didn't know us. I'd been in contact with him a couple times and we said, okay, hey, up until this point of the music, don't do any more choreography because then I'll start getting people coming out onto the floor. But one day in the studio, we just, you know, videotaped me dancing a line dance and started sending it out to everybody, all with the make sure Sean doesn't know. And it was a hoot. We knew that we needed Jody down in the splits. We knew that we needed to get Zeb and Adam to lift you up at the end. It was a lot of fun to coordinate it. We had everybody out on the floor.
Oh God, and I remember Pam Niles and Stacy and all of my dancers like, what am I going to do for this line dance? And so we actually had to hold a couple of practices with them, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was beautiful and wonderful of Jody to wrap everyone around like that.
It was a great moment. I certainly was surprised, and priceless moment that I will certainly hold near and dear to my heart until the end of time. So any final thoughts here as we wrap up your guys' episode of DWOS Diaries?
You know, it's sad that the event is done every year around the time we would normally have Dancing with Our Stars. I sit here and go, God, I would be spending, you know, 12 plus hours at the KI right now.
2 days, 2 days in a row
at the KI. It's still sad to not get to see everybody. This is so great that we get to do this and sit and talk about all those fun memories. Got to meet a lot of great people, make a lot of new friends that are like family to us. It's great. It was something we'll never forget that we were a part of.
And I just can't be grateful enough. I could take time and name every single dancer, but they just, when you dance with someone, you really have to just be open with them. It's very difficult. It can happen, but it's very difficult to close yourself off and then dance with someone. And so I had this experience over a decade where I think I danced with more than 20 people, and I got to just share just a really cool portion of their life. I feel just blessed and lucky to have been able to walk along with them and then dance with them at the end. Absolutely every one of them. There were things about every person's dance and every relationship I got to build that were very special. So I'm grateful for being a part of something that raised hundreds of millions of dollars for the Red Cross. I'm sorry, hundreds of thousands. Sorry. But more than that, I'm just grateful that I could be a part of the lives, again, for the people that I danced with, but then the Dan Terrios of the world, the Jim Rivets of the world that I didn't get to dance with, that I just got to walk with a little bit along on their journey. And without, again, name dropping everyone, I'm so grateful to everyone. I'm so grateful to you for getting me back involved. I think about all I would have missed out on and missed out of being a part of. And so I don't know if I ever did say thank you, but thank you. And then thank you for this. I've enjoyed the memories and just thinking and talking about it. And I've certainly enjoyed watching them. Hi, Riker.
Well, one of the best decisions we made was bringing you back into the fold, and could not have done the 6 years that I was a part of the event without you and your team. And certainly one of the best decisions you made in your life was bringing Mina into it. And certainly we benefited with Dancing with Our Stars, having her be a huge part of it as well. So couldn't have done it without you guys, and eternally grateful for all the hard work that you did and great care that you took with the Stars. And great to catch up with the two of you as well as Riker.
Yeah.
Riker, can you say hi?
Can you say hi?
Riker, who's this? Who's this? Spider-Man?
All right, guys. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Till the next dance.
Say bye.
Bye.